I am recording this, you guys, just so you know. Before we get into it, if you don't know how to work Zoom and you're not familiar with Zoom, there is a couple functions I do want you to look depending on your device, because I'm on a computer, so of course it looks a little bit different from me, but there should be a chat button somewhere on your device. If while a speaker is talking, myself or Louisa today, and you have a question or something and you don't want to lose it, pop it in that chat and we'll address it, or we'll wait to the discussion part to address it. I am going to have you guys stay on mute, especially if you have a lot of stuff going on in the background, kids, etc., dogs, things like that. So it's not interrupting the speaker, okay? So you should see your mute buttons. You should be able to see your video. I would prefer to see you guys as we're going through this class, but it's, of course, it's not mandatory that I see you. Let's see. I think those are the main ones. So just let me know if you guys can't or you don't know where your chat buttons are. We'll go through it now so we can try to help you out find your chat button. But it really depends on your device. If you're on a phone, if you're on a tablet, okay. If you can't find your mute button, let us know. We'll try to assist you.
We can also mute them for them if they have trouble. So
yeah, like Vanessa, I think you might be having issues, but you're on mute, so I can't hear you if you are.
I just don't know how to get my video up. I know how to mute it, but I can't see if you guys can see me.
Oh, we can see you.
Oh, how do I flip it to myself?
You already, we were looking at you for a minute, but then you flipped it the other way.
Oh, this stupid thing.
Are you on a phone or a tablet?
I am on a phone.
What kind? Are you on like an iPhone or Android?
Android.
Android. You should have like right on like the bottom of your screen, there should be where you see the video.
It says stop, or it says stop video, share, mute.
Anybody else on an Android that sees where you flip the screen?
Let me see if I could figure it.
She can touch the screen also.
And it'll flip it?
She turned it around.
On my iPhone, it's at the top.
Okay, we see you now, Vanessa. You just can't see you.
Okay.
So does she need to like swipe left or something so she can see herself?
No. You know why she can't see herself?
Oh, now I can. I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
I had to swipe right. Thank you.
Okay. I know there's a couple of different things like swiping left or right to get to up somewhere, but okay, we got you now.
Thank you.
You can see you now. And you know where your chat button is in case you need to drop something in the chat? Okay.
I did figure that part out.
All right, cool beans. All right, so, all right, we're about 5 minutes, so I think we're gonna go ahead and start and at least get the start the introductions. So me, if you don't know who I am, I'm one of the facilitators, also creator of the Healing Beyond Humanity founder. My name is Ariana Gutierrez. Some of you guys know me, Divine Moon Goddess, for years. Recently changed to Thick Goddess Energy, right? I am an energetic healer. That means I really focus on energy, core healing, getting to the bottom of issues using meditation. That's the biggest one that I like, is meditative state healing, okay? I also do tarot. I do specialize with twin flames, past life. I am a mentor as well as a coach, a teacher. I do rituals, astrology. There's probably other shit that I'm not naming, but all of that is kind of like, we'll be here forever, right? But also joining me tonight is our other instructor. I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm one of the co-founders for Healing Beyond Humanity. I'm a reader, a healer, an energy transmuter, witchy woman, and just a whole host of things, coach, motivator, etc., etc. But we're here for you guys. So if you need anything beyond this, don't forget to hit us up in the chat box or in the chat on Facebook Messenger, or you can hit us up directly as well.
It's definitely going to say if you guys want fitness motivation, follow her. You're like my go-to, like get your ass up and go do some shit today.
And I see you, Sam, drink some water.
Look, you're gonna see me sipping on this, so you might as well bust it out and make sure, anytime you're doing any healing though, you guys, you want to stay hydrated and you do want to take care of yourself. Healing takes a lot out of your body, out of your energy. And so you want to, like, drinking water is going to be one of those things that you will hear us telling you to do on your path, because you do need to take care of yourself. Get rest, try to even force yourself to get some sleep, because a lot of this brings up a lot of crazy shit. So you want to make sure that you're doing your part. So I'm gonna chug a little bit of water and then go.
Cheers.
So we're definitely it's a 4-part series on this one. We're going to talk like the intro to shadow work, kind of give you a little bit of a background of where that term came from and some history, psychologically and on the spiritual side. We're going to talk a little bit about what this course can do for you should you put the time and effort, because again, it's not going to magically change without you putting in work, right? We are going to talk about those benefits, signs, and symptoms. We're going to give you tips tonight, as well as ways to work with that shadow. I also, next week, we'll go a little bit more into ego and what that looks like. And then we also have mental health with facilitator Erin King. You guys will meet her. And then we have another one with Ashley Santiago, which is a shadow work integration coach. And she will be going over repeating patterns. And then we also have a bonus. It's a shadow work boot camp that I'm putting together for the 24th. It'll be myself and a couple of other facilitators that will be pushing you to some limits in the boot camp. And I would say, not that the only strong should do it. I would say if you're ready, do it, because it will be intense and it will trigger the fuck out of you, but it's meant to. And then we will do a lot of love and clearing in that one. So that one will be on the 24th, and we'll talk more on that, okay? So I always like to kind of start with a quote, and today's quote is "Plant seeds of hope, and one day flowers will bloom over your scars," by Bruce Melody. And so, everyone has a story, everyone has a background. And when we're sitting here thinking we're alone, we're not. There's so many other people that have been down the same path, similar path, and we all have these scars, but it's what we do with it. And it's how we take the energy and move forward. We can let it break us and, corrupt us, or we could use it to empower and help others. And so I hope that you guys choose to start taking yours and help others in some way, shape, or form, right? So I want to do a quick grounding, because I know everyone's like the hustle and bustle. So we'll do a quick little just ground, kind of get into our mojo to ease tension and fears and anxiety that's probably coming up, right? So if you could just get, if you're sitting, that's good. Make sure your feet are planted. Try to make sure your back is as straight as, as straight as you want. And I just want you to go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to focus on your breathing. So making sure that that breath is coming in through your nose, down to your heart space, and then hold for about a few seconds, and then breathe out through your mouth, okay? So as I'm guiding you, I want you to focus on that part. So breathe in through your nose really deeply, into the chest space. And do that release. So we're just going to take a moment, and whether you know about chakras or not, we're going to allow white light coming from source energy, God energy, whoever it is that you believe in. Allow that white light to come down through your crown chakra, which is your top of your head. And we're going to go ahead and let that energy just keep flowing through us down to the third eye, which is right between your eyes. And you're going to keep flowing down to your throat chakra, which of course is your throat. Keep pushing that white, beautiful, beautiful, positive light down to your heart chakra. And then we're just going to keep flowing that beautiful, positive energy down to our solar plexus, which is right above your navel. And you're going to go ahead and keep bringing that beautiful, beautiful energy down to your sacral chakra, which is your pelvic area. And you're going to keep flowing that beautiful, positive energy down to your root chakra, which is at the bottom of your tailbone. And you're going to keep flowing down, flow down through your legs into the earth. And we want to keep going down, down, down through the earth's crust and the soils and the crystals, and down, down, down until we reach the energy source of Mother Gaia herself. And we want to connect and anchor to Mother Gaia. And we want to allow her energy to flow up back through us, hitting each and every one of our chakras again, our roots, our sacral, our solar, our heart, our throat, our third eye, and our crown. Kind of like an infinity symbol flowing from source down to Mother Gaia into us as we anchor and ground ourselves into this session. And just allow this energy as well to flow around you, protecting you, as this is a safe space. This is a secure space, and know that you are protected and loved at all times. And when you're ready to go ahead and let that energy flow back down to Mother Gaia, then flow back up through you, allowing it to go back up to source. And then once you're ready, you can open your eyes, you can move, and come into the room that you're in. Yes, there is a full moon tomorrow. Hopefully you guys are a little bit more kind of calm and just grounded in here, okay? That's a quick way to ground too, if you didn't know how to ground, or if you were struggling with meditation. I know a lot of people say, oh, I have ADD, how can I do this? Or my attention span, let me tell you, I'm right there with you. I'm one of you also, okay? But it's really quick. You could do a really quick ground, connect, and get into a different state, a different presence, okay? All right. I'm going to be honest, Louisa, I probably forgot what are your slides. So just when we go to your slide, remind me. Because I probably be like, which slide is mine again? All right, so we're going to do the intro to shadow work. So I'm sorry, this is going to irritate my life. Okay. So the history of shadow, like saying shadow work or the shadow, part of it comes from Carl Jung, even though Carl Jung is not the one who started it and he's not the one who invented it, but he is one of the ones that brought it to mainstream. So his teachings, which he is a Swiss psychologist, he studied it, looking into the ego and the unconscious mind. One of the things that he talked about was of how it started through the childhood. He was very adamant on focusing with the childhood traumas, and that's where that shadow was born. That's kind of what he looked into, as well as looking into your ego, which is the identity, right? Who are you in this life? Who is your persona that kind of shows up in those things? So when we're looking at his teachings, again, that childhood trauma, and we went over it in the last series. So if you were in the last series, great. If you missed the last series, it is up in the group. I would advise you guys to go watch it, because we talk about traumas, we talk about triggers, we talk about a lot of those things. But just to recap, childhood traumas are not just molestation and rape and being abused or neglected. Childhood traumas can be a car accident, as simple as that, which we think it's simple, but it's a game changer. Somebody going to jail when you're a child is a game changer. Your mother and father could be present, but not present. They could be in the home, but not in the home. That's trauma. Bullying is trauma, traumatic. That one kid that you can remember that did something to you that you'll never fucking forget, okay, is trauma. So there's a lot of things that are our actual traumas that we kind of brush off and we say, oh, wasn't that bad? It wasn't like, someone got murdered, or I didn't get raped, so I don't have no trauma. No, there's a lot of things that are truly. So his teachings really go to your childhood of what happened, grief and loss, if someone had passed on, or if you've lost somebody in that particular space of time. And of course, abuse is a really huge one that a lot of people suffer from. But again, if you weren't abused, it doesn't mean you don't have trauma, okay? So throughout what we're teaching you guys, I want you to kind of understand that your shadow needs love. Shadow work is not to kill, defeat, beat, you know, down, annihilate the shadow. The shadow is never going to disappear. It's like when you're walking in the sun and you see your shadow on that ground. When you see the shadow, I want you to remember that and look at that shadow and send love to that shadow, okay? Because the shadow is a part of you. It is there for a reason. It is there to collect all of the bad stuff, right? But it's not, we've been taught that a lot of stuff is bad. But we have to get to this place of love and compassion towards those things, acceptance towards these things. The only reason why it stays in the shadow is because we tuck it there, because that's our closet, right? Our closet of fucking skeletons that we've been told that we have to keep. And it's through working through it, the stuff that you've rejected, the stuff that you've said, I'm bad or I'm weird. You know how, you know, most of us in the spiritual path, we were fucking weird. We were, you know, we weren't all the cool kids, you know, and even if we were kind of cool, we still didn't feel like we fucking belonged, right? So there's all of these things that we kind of tucked into the shadow and throughout our childhoods of feeling different, feeling like we didn't belong on some way. And even now, even if you were the cool kid, even if you were going through all that, and now you're going through your awakening, like, I don't fucking belong here anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there's no space for me. I don't get it. Again, you've now created this another part of your shadow of the stuff that you're rejecting, the stuff that you used to do, the person you used to be. Oh, I was a fucking asshole. Guess where that asshole is? The asshole is now in the shadow. Okay. So just know that, again, we're not trying to annihilate the shadow. The shadow is never going to go anywhere. It is about loving, compassion, and having that acceptance. Okay. Now, we'll go through a couple of the types of ego per Carl Jung. Now, Carl Jung kind of breaks this down in 3 types of your ego. Tamasic, and I'm probably saying them a little off because, again, trying to pronounce this shit is like whatever. But Tamasic is, according to Carl Jung, is the barbaric part of you, right? That's the self-destructive one. That's the one that's like, rah, that's the one that's like all ego-driven, right? That's the one that you can fall into your weaknesses. And when we say weaknesses, it's like the temptation of life, right? Because that's the weaknesses, the shit that we know it's not good for us. We know that person's not good for us. We know that bottle's not good for us. We know, you know, gambling is not good for us. Whatever it is that is our kind of kryptonite, right? That's the Tamasic part of our ego. That's the part that says all of the negative shit. You know, the negative self-talk that comes in, this is the part of your ego that's saying that, right? Per Carl Jung, it's like, you ain't shit, I'm miserable, I'm sad, I'm never going to be this, I could never do that. You know, this is what causes jealousy within us when we look at someone else and we're like, oh, I could never be like that person, I could never be as good as that person. That's the part of you that's getting on you. And this is where, when you hear me say, take a moment when those those thoughts come in, and stop and change it to a positive. You have to get into that awareness to say, nope, I'm not going to down talk myself today. I'm not going to compare myself today to anybody else. I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to be the best version of myself today. You have to get into this kind of like cycle of, nope, I see it, I hear it, I'm not going to go there. Okay. But that's the part of you that's going there. That's, you know, also this part right here where it says, what is the divine or God going to do for me? That's where you see people like, God, please help me. Okay. That's when you get into, or source, please help me. We want someone else to change our lives. We want someone else to come in here and magically fix the fucking destruction that most likely we've caused, right? Not all of it is what we've caused, but a lot of it is up to us at some point to change, to grow, to heal, to move forward, right? So if you're stuck in this place of seeing who's going to help you, who's going to magically save you, no one is going to save you. You will need to step up to the plate and work with the universe, God, or whoever it is that you believe in. Okay. So remember this part of you, which is never going to go away. This is not something that's the biggest thing I want you to understand is this piece of you doesn't go away. It's the awareness that helps you to stop staying in this place. So you got to understand that a lot of people think shadow work is, oh, we're going to kill this part and I'm going to be fucking happily ever after and I'm never going to have no issues. Yeah, no, that's setting yourself up for failure. You will always have to defeat this part of you. And I don't want to say defeat, but you'll always have to come in command of this part of you and say, you know what? I'm not helpless. I can fucking get up and do this. I'm not lazy. Maybe I was lazy yesterday, but I'm not lazy today. You know what I mean? I'm going to get up and I'm changing this. So just remember, you're always going to have this part of you. It's a very strong part. I feel like this is the part that we all learn how to be very successful in, and it's changing these ways. It's what we have to kind of take control over. So hopefully you guys kind of understand that. And if you don't, just let me know. The other part of our ego is Rajasic, which is, and this is crazy because it sounds the same a little bit. It's the self-centered part, but this is the part, even though it has the self-centered part of it, it also has the pride and self-esteem. But of course, if you shift too much into it, right, then we go to the tamasic, and then it's like overboard, overdrawn, but you do need ego. When people are like, oh, I'm not egotistic, you have to be to fucking make it. You have to believe in yourself. Most people who fucking make it in this life, they're in this ego, they're in this part, because you can use this to get to where you want to go. You can use this as that, hell yeah, I'm fucking good. Hell yeah, I'm going to get up and do this every day. Hell yeah, I'm the best at whatever the fuck I'm doing right now. And you have to be in this part. That self-esteem is right here. You cannot make it in anything, even in your healing path, without being in this part. So yes, there's a part that can get too much. You can get overboard, but this is that action part. When we do our affirmations, I am, this is the ego part that we're in, because now we're telling ourselves, no, I am doing this. I am powerful. I am successful. I am abundant, right? So there's that, you got to just kind of watch it. I would prefer you to be in this space though, so that you could move forward, so that you get those steps together and you could create that energy. Okay. But like I said, you can get too much into this part, and then that causes the misery. It causes the trap of exhausting yourself with, the part of the false identity, because remember, the ego likes to talk about what we want to do, right? And then there's a part which our higher self is actually going to put it into play. So don't get into talking about what you want to do without the action. So there's a fine line when you're in this particular side of your ego, and you have to be able to kind of see that. Am I always saying I'm doing shit and I'm never fucking having the action to actually change or grow? Or am I actually balancing this part out of me? And it's not going to be overnight. No one's going to wake up tomorrow and just be super fucking ego. Okay. You've already had however many years you've had working in your ego. So remember, it's going to be steps to kind of balance and change. The other side is, which they call this the setback. I'm probably not saying that right. But anyway, this is kind of the balance part of it. And it's pretty trippy because the next slide we see, it kind of goes into Hinduism, which with the chakras, it kind of shows you that, which I love that, right? But this one is that place of knowledge, taking everything that you've gone through, everything that you've been through, use it as that experience of knowledge, right? Bringing in happiness because you understand that, yes, this was a piece of my life. It was a part of my life, but it doesn't have to diminish the rest of my life while I'm here. I don't have to stay in this place. I can still have happiness. I can still be loved. I can still have love. I could still, I could still do all the things that I want to do in this particular place. So this is where we get more balance. This is where you get to be the creative, and you get to be protective, and you get to just, it's kind of that understanding, the balance and the understanding. Not a lot of people get to this place though. I don't know. I keep saying, I don't know if I'll get to this one, because, it's a very balanced state and life happens. You got to be real with where you're at. And sometimes I'm all over the place. I'm still trying to get here. I'm not here yet, but this is where you just come to an understanding, and you're able to be happy, and nothing from the past is still bothering you. But that's the balance we're all working to get to. Okay, so if you're not here yet and you haven't found a balance, of course, that's okay. But just know there is a place of balance that you can get to, where your ego works with you and not against you. You and your ego are kind of, you understand what you're trying to accomplish, and your ego's not in charge. And you're not just running from ego, or running on ego, if that makes sense. So the other part is, now that was Carl Jung's kind of his history of where the ego and those types of ego. But if you look on the spiritual side of it, shamans, Hinduism, if you look at all of the ancient religions, backgrounds, they all have the aspect of the shadow. They all talk about it. So shadow work has been something that they've been doing for thousands of years. It's not new. It wasn't just created with Carl Jung's teachings. So the same thing with that on the spiritual side is they bring past life into it though. So when you look at the spiritual aspect, they talk about your past life lives in that shadow also. So that's the karma, the stuff that we're supposed to learn, the karmic lessons, all of that stuff lives in the shadow. So and they refer to it as the invisible side to self, okay? So the only real difference of it is the part of past life that ties into it, because Carl Jung doesn't, that teaching doesn't have the past life aspect of it, okay? Because of course, that's more of the science-based teachings versus when we look on the spiritual side. And if you don't have to believe in past life, this is not, to change anyone's mindset about past life. I do personally believe in it. And if you do, then you have that aspect that's there. Personally, I know my past life has hindered this life. So, and I've had to do past life work, but a lot of people are kind of oblivious to that part of them. And it's just wreaking havoc in your life. And I would say explore it. If there's especially repeating patterns. And of course we have a class on that, but explore it and you might uncover some gems to heal going through the past life stuff. So this is the part I was saying that it kind of balances. If you're too much into the tamasic, right? That's the dull, depressed, repressed, damaged, neglect, denial, underactive, the lazy, that's the selfish version, right? If you're too much to the left, the rajic, which is going to be the manic, the obsessive, the OCD, the addiction, right? The greed, the selfish lust, right? And then there's the balance, which is that just the balance of life. And it ties into your energy. It ties into everything. Everything is a balance. There is no real good and bad, you guys. There's a balance of life, knowing that it comes with all of it and not letting it take you over. So we want to come into some type of balance.
Okay, this is where I go in.
Awesome.
So ignoring shadow. This is where it can get detrimental because our shadows are such a huge part of us, and it manifests in different ways. And the ancient Greeks, they were onto something because they decided to honor all parts of the psyche as gods and goddesses. And when you would ignore these entities, they would turn on you. And this is the same way it is with our shadow sides. As we've already discussed, we all have a shadow. We cannot be all light and love. There is that darker aspects of us. So when you push those shadows to the side, they creep out unexpectedly, and we go into that autopilot consciousness. It's because we're so unaware of the depth of the existence of our shadows that it allows the subconscious to take over. It takes control, and it becomes evident in our words, our facial expressions, and everything that you do. Think about how often you're sitting somewhere and everything you're thinking is written on your face, but you're trying to hold those thoughts back because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but they see it. It's written right there. It affects how we speak to others. How often have you said something mean or hurtful and had to go back and apologize? Or even if you don't apologize to the actual person, you think to yourself, I don't know what made me say those things, or I didn't mean that. I was just angry and it was in the moment. It's because, once again, you're ignoring your shadow. So because you're not giving it the space to be accepted, it comes out when it chooses, when you are triggered. Ignoring your shadow, it leads to negative expressions of emotions or being overly critical and just lacking empathy in general. Because when you ignore your shadow, it's easier to sit in emotions such as sadness or anger. That those are usually the emotions that create our shadows in the first place. It's easy it's easy to get stuck in that worst case scenario instead of realizing life happens and everything isn't going to be perfect, or judging someone else for the way that they do something because it isn't the way that you would do it, so it must be wrong. And when ignored, the shadow side doesn't care about seeing the positive. It wants to wallow in the next negativity because that's where it was created, in the negative. So it wants to stay there because that's where we put it. We put it in, oh, it must be bad. But as Ariana mentioned earlier, the shadow is not bad. It's just a different part of us. And the same way when you're ignored, and what do you want to do usually? People want to make their voices louder. They want to put their opinions out there, like, I will not be ignored. And the shadow is the same way. And another huge issue of ignoring your shadow is the mirroring effect. It's where we project onto others what we keep hidden within ourselves. This is when we're triggered by certain behaviors that we have that we don't want to confront. So, for example, imagine you hold the door open for somebody and they don't say thank you. Yes, they may not have been thinking about it. They may be rude. They may just not care. Now, this is something personal for me because I would loudly say, "You're welcome," to get a reaction out of them. But somebody who is not ignoring their shadow or has dealt with this side of themselves, which I am glad to say I have improved, where I can say, all right, whatever, I held the door, that's it, it's over, it wasn't a big deal, it was just another couple of seconds. But that's why my shadow would come out at those times, because that's something that I wasn't looking at within me. There's times where I'm rude, but I didn't want to look at that. So I would rather see it in you and focus on your rudeness than to reflect on my own and why I feel that way. With these behaviors, it also leads to hurting our personal and professional relationships. Think about, how often do you want to be around somebody who's acting in a negative manner towards you? It usually triggers a fight or flight response, because when you're met with somebody else's shadow, you either go on the defense or it's like, oh, okay, I don't want to be in this situation, I'm going to leave. So the concern is never truly addressed. So ultimately, it leaves you and your shadow once again feeling alone and unloved. So these are some of the things that happen when you ignore your shadow. You can go on to the next slide. I think it's still me.
Real quick,
Sure.
Ignatia said, how do we love that shadow and show it?
How do we love our shadow?
You said express it and embrace it.
I would say sometimes just allowing yourself to talk to your shadow. I think I might mention that later on, but just talking to your shadow, allowing yourself, oh no, you're next, sorry. Right? Yeah. But talking to your shadow, realizing how your shadow was born. Usually this is born in childhood from repressing something that somebody put forth on you. And you were like, okay, this is something about myself I need to hide. You weren't allowed to be angry. Accept that anger is okay. It's how you go about it. It's how you treat others when you're angry, how you speak. So when you're working with your shadow, it's just giving you a different way to look at things. And now Ariana is going to discuss some benefits that might help a little bit more giving understanding here.
Right, right. Because I was going to say there's definitely two differences, right? Of accepting a part of us and then giving excuses of being shitty, right?
Yeah.
Got to learn which am I being shitty in this moment?
Yeah.
There's still a bit of love and compassion to give to self and not beat yourself with a whip for, going down the same. But it's the repression and stuff. So yeah. All right. Hopefully we kind of answer that for you right now, but I think as we go along with it, we'll kind of go more into what we're talking about. But yeah, if you have a question, pop it in there, and no question is a dumb question, you guys. Okay. So some of the benefits when you're doing shadow work, and most of us who have done shadow work, we can attest to this. You can improve your relationships because you will start to see them differently. When you work through your triggers, people can't trigger you the same way. So a lot of the shit that you used to be pissed off about, you're not going to be pissed off no more. You're not going to let it get to you. You're going to be like, you know what? I don't even need to deal with this. I don't need to respond to this. I don't need to say shit. Because remember, the ego is the part of you that's like, no, fuck that. You're going to hear what I have to say. Your ego is the part when you're arguing at someone, your ego, the bad part of your ego, right? Because there's different spaces of the ego, but the bad side of the ego is the one like, I'm going to prove my point in this argument. Have you ever been the person who needs the last word in an argument? I know I have. I'll get petty as fuck to keep saying this shit in this damn argument. And if you keep talking, I'ma fucking keep talking. You guys ever have a text message argument? And if you keep texting me, I'ma fucking keep texting you. Again, the side of you that's staying in the argument is the bad side of your ego that needs to prove your point. When honestly, an hour ago, you probably knew that this argument wasn't going anywhere, right? So again, you have to become aware of your behavior. Because again, why do I need to prove myself in this point when I know what I know? What is the point of it? You're going to start to filter through these things and say, damn, is this even worth it at the end of the day? Because if you're petty, and we all have a little bit of petty, the pettiness is not that no one's petty, because everyone has a splash of petty. It's, again, do you need to be petty in this moment? Do you need to keep going through the argument? Do you have to start to become aware and ask yourself, is it worth it? And it's not. It's going to give you 2 seconds of yes, and then it's just like, fuck. Now I've created all of this other shit and brought up triggers and all this other craziness that I've brought up. So it's about the awareness. But clear perception, and spirit is always telling us to see things from a different place, a different perspective on a situation. When you start not being in your ego, right, with your shadow and your hurt child that's lashing out on everyone, you will get into a place of where you allow yourself to see it from somebody else's side. Because again, we're never going to truly understand somebody else's perception of a situation because we're not them. No matter how empathetic you are, no matter how compassionate you are, you're never going to fucking understand from the other person. When you truly accept that fact right there, that's going to be a game changer for you. Okay. Enhanced awareness is the biggest part of this. Awareness is key. You cannot do shadow work without becoming aware of your own actions, because then you're going to find, well, that person pissed me off and that person said this and that person said that. Again, you're not responsible for everybody else's actions. You are only responsible of how you respond and react to everything coming at you. And that's where the awareness is key. So again, your higher self is always going to be like, damn well you shouldn't have did that, right? And it's not to beat yourself up and be like, oh my God, I'm a fucking idiot. That's, again, you're doing what people have always done to you, and then you're doing too much, right? The whole point is to get aware so that you get in this calmer space. And then the enhanced awareness is going to come in when you realize exactly what something is triggering you from. And you're going to pinpoint, damn, that's the 9-year-old version of me right now that's pissed off and mad. That's the 15-year-old version of me that's pissed off right now. You know, that's that part of me. That's the enhanced awareness where you know where it's coming from. It's like, okay, now, because most of us are operating in we don't know why we're mad. We're just angry. So now this anger is now I'm lashing out on whoever the fuck just pissed me off today, right? Your energy, your physical health, you're going to want to change stuff about your life, because when you're feeling like shit, guess what? So is your physical body, your mind, all of that stress. We know stress kills, so does unhealed trauma. It's all boiled in together, right? When you're looking at your mind, the maturity of your emotions, the way you think, you're not having tantrums in a situation, because most of us are now adults having tantrums at everything that doesn't fucking go our way. If someone doesn't choose us, oh my God, I didn't get chose. That was me, you know, back on the baseball team. They didn't choose me. Oh my God, I'm triggered. And I don't even realize that that's what the trigger is from, you know? So now we're adults that are spazzing out because we're not getting our way. So again, this is going to help you get to that place of maturity, and you're going to understand more about yourself, getting into more creativity. Creativity does not mean artistic. Creativity means creating in your life, understanding that you are a co-creator in this life, that you are able to create the life that you want. And that's by the reaction or response that you give to every situation in your life. And so everything coming at you, you got to ask yourself before you just flip the script. And if you do, take a second to come back and say, damn, why did I lose it? Why did I allow this particular situation to push me over the edge? What's really going on? It's not the person who cut me off. It's not the person who pissed me off. I've had some days where then I call one of these places, and I'm one of the people who I cannot stand the fucking automated systems. But I can tell you a couple times where I've been in a bad place, that automated system send me over the fucking top. So by the time I get to someone, I'm a fucking bitch cussing at them, because by the time I got to the fucking person I need to talk to, I've went through 20 different press 1 for this and press 2 for that, right? It wasn't the system. It wasn't, even though, yes, that system is a pet peeve. It wasn't that. I was already in a fucked up place. My anger was already there. I just needed somebody to take it out on. So while you're going through this, your benefits are going to be game changing for you to get to a better space of your life. And when you start to see that, the shift in your life is so much better than what you're coming from. Okay. So it's like real shit. Like, it's crazy because when you start to really look at a lot of the situations in your life, you're like, oh man, damn, I did not need to be so mad at the old lady that was in the express line with her fucking 50 items and it says 10. You know what I mean? Like, even though, again, pet peeve, it says 10. Why the fuck are you here with 30 items? Like, you know what I mean? You know, but it's like, did I really need to get mad at this person? No, you know? So you start to see that when you're going through, when you have all this shit tucked in, this repressed emotions and trauma and stuff, all it takes is these other situations to bring it out of you. And then you're snapping on people, you're snapping on your kids. You can't handle it. Shit's too fucking much in this moment. And that comes from all the shit that you've swallowed and that you're not dealing with, right? So when we get into ways to improve, right, with shadow work, we have got to step up to the accountability part, right? Yes, you could have got raped. That is not on you. You could have got molested. That's not on you. You could have got abused. That's not on you. You could have got bullied as a kid. Again, it's not on you. You didn't create this. You didn't make this, right? You didn't ask for it, nor did you fucking want it, right? But now, as an adult of where you are and who you are, you have got to take accountability for your healing. This is where you get into that mature space and say, I'm the adult, and now I am the one in charge of the smaller versions of myself, the younger versions of myself that are existing in time and space. It is my job now to be accountable of everything that I allow in my life, good or bad. And when I go through the shadow work with people, I tell everyone, you have got to step up to the plate, because when you don't do what you need to do for you, you are now doing all the shit that everybody else did to your younger selves. Now you're failing your younger self. And I use that term because it's going to hit, right? Failing your younger selves. You are not showing up for the younger versions of yourself. Every time you keep taking yourself down one of these roads of unhealthy behavior, unhealthy living. Okay, we'll just say unhealthy right now, right? Acknowledgement is going to be the other thing, because we have to acknowledge what has happened. We have to acknowledge where we're at, and we have to acknowledge the fact that we keep taking ourselves to certain situations. And until you do that, you will be in a cycle and like a merry-go-round of going nowhere, just going around and around in circles. It just comes with it. It's a hard place to be, you guys. It is sometimes, some of these situations, but as you keep taking those steps forward, and only do it as you're ready. If you push yourself too much in this, you will fall, and it'll be bad, right? But if you just take your steps slowly through this, you'll see that it's going to get to that place where it's going to feel better. Excuse me, you will be lighter. Okay. Self-awareness, we talked about that. I can't say it enough. Self-awareness is everything. Through this, it's being okay with having that bad day. Every day is not going to be rainbows and butterflies. So when you hear us talk about, the fluffy spiritualist who's every day is going to be woohoo and everything's good, and that's not reality. Life comes, there's shit that's going to happen. You could be good, you've healed, you're good, and all of a sudden, boom, here goes a fucking tower, and you're like, well, I didn't see that coming. You know what I mean? Like, just because you've healed does not mean that people aren't going to die around you, that tragedy is not going to happen around you, that the world is not going to still be a shitty place out there, because all of that is still going to exist, right? All of that is still going to exist. So you have to be okay with the day not going your way. You have to be okay with not getting a certain job that you wanted. You have to be okay that somebody didn't choose you and they chose to run off with someone else. You got to be okay with all of these things, because again, you can't control anything outside of you. You only can control you, right? So if you get to that point where you're like, you know what, this has been a shitty day, but I'm going to go take a bubble bath, and I'm going to fucking woosah, and I'm going to light my candles or my incense and put some oils in there, and fuck it, we will start over tomorrow, right? Play whatever movie you want to play to make yourself feel better, listen to some music, dance around, but do stuff where you're like, you know what, okay, this hasn't been the greatest day, but I'm not going to let it get to me. And if it is getting to you, that means there's deeper shit that you need to address. Okay, that's your triggers, and that's your awareness. Like, you know what, this day was bad, but all right, I'm way sunken, I'm way feeling depressed now. What's coming up for me? And you have to be brave to ask those questions, right? We got to get in this moment of being brave, because we've been scared. We've been the child running from this for a very long time. So now it's time to get into that, put our capes on and be like, you know what, I'm save myself. I saved everybody else for 20 years. It's time for me to save me, right? So embodying your dark side. Now, that does not mean that you're going to go out there and now you're a Satanist and shit like that. Now, if that's what you choose to do, that's what you fucking choose to do. But embodying your dark side is embodying everything that you feel that was rejected, that is horrible. Like, I'll give an example. For someone who has had to, maybe they had to sell their body, maybe they had to sell drugs, maybe they had to do some things at a point, in that point in time, they felt like that was what they had to do, right? There's a lot of shame and guilt to that's sitting in the shadow. Embodying that means, you know what, I understand at that point, this is what I chose to do because I felt like these were my options. And I'm not going to hold on to the guilt and shit behind it and let it go. I'm not tainted. I'm not, you know what I mean? There's all of these things that kind of go with that, right? So embodying the dark is understanding some parts about you. Every moment in your life, you can look at it and you can understand that you were doing the best that you could in that point. Yes, if you had the information you had today, you probably wouldn't make that fucking choice, right? Probably wouldn't have went down that path. Probably wouldn't have hung out with those people. But again, that part of you, that age of you was working in the best of their ability at that moment. And so if you could embody that and just start putting that love and compassion to that part of you, you're going to start to work through a lot of this stuff and start to love that version of you. Again, you don't have to, it's not saying, oh, I was a fucked up person and I agree with that. No, you're just saying that, okay, I was operating in this anger. Like, I could look at some parts of my younger, I was very compulsive in my 20s. So my ass had an attitude in 2 seconds. I'd cuss you out. I'd justify it. I was very righteous in my behavior. Well, you pissed me off, so now this is what you got. It doesn't make it any better, right? That doesn't make me a shitty person. I was acting all out of anger. And then if you throw alcohol and everything else in top of that, We ain't even gonna go there, right? If you throw that alcohol, I used to be an alcoholic. I was a functioning alcoholic, so I thought it was okay. Got my ass up and went to work, so I was functioning. I wasn't like my parents, you know, who didn't work. No, it wasn't okay. But you got to kind of come to this space and say, damn, I do recognize how shitty I was in those moments and how I allowed myself to just take it out on other people that should not have got that part of me. But don't stay in it where you're, you know, pushing yourself down even more, because you already have the guilt and the shame for it. You don't need any more. You've done years of that shit, right? Now it's time to love that part of you, even with the darkness, even with the shit that you feel like you've done wrong, okay? So again, that's not going to the dark side. We're not sending you over to the dark side. It's just getting to those parts that are in the closet, because we don't want you to have the closet no more of all the skeletons thinking they're going to fall out and someone's going to find out all your dark fucking secrets. Look, we all have a past. There's no one who doesn't have a past. Some people's pasts are a little bit dimmer, yes. And some people have a lot of shit that they're working through, yes. But again, you'll be surprised at how many people have been through the same shit. So it's not as dark and bad as you think it is, okay? So loving that part of you is going to be imperative. That's going to be the biggest improvement that you make. So now we're going to go into some signs and symptoms to look out for.
Okay, that's me again. Okay, signs and symptoms. Unhealthy escapism. It's often seen when you're ignoring your shadow, because we take on these behaviors to numb or hide from the shadow aspects of ourselves, where, as in moderation, these can be some of them can be part of a healthy lifestyle, but in excess is when they become damaging to the individual. Drugs, alcohol, and pills. It's unhealthy because it physically numbs the mind and body to not see or deal with what you're hiding from yourself and others. We can over abuse social media because we get lost in other people's lives, and even using it to portray the image we want others to see so that nobody knows about our shadows. Sex. People use their excuse me, people use their bodies to get validation that you're worthy and that you're wanted. And it's just another way to numb ourselves from what we have hidden within us. Indulgence in general. I'll talk about too, food and shopping. How many people use food as a crutch because they want to just eat to take away the pain, to get that dopamine hit, to ignore everything else that's going on with them. Same thing with shopping. You spend, and then that's just also another dopamine hit that you're taking on to ignore what else is going on with you. You use it to avoid dealing with what you have repressed. And then with the food, obviously it leads to an unhealthy weight, obesity, different disease, diabetes, hypertension, for instance. And with the shopping, you can go into debt. You can just spend it all. And I could go on and on with that, but we'll leave it there. Some people overwork, and that's an unhealthy escapism as well, because you have no time to live life and you become so tunnel vision that you don't have time to even see anything else in your life. And also, for a lot of people, they'll look at being a workaholic as maybe a good thing. So they're portraying that they have good values because they work hard, but really they're using that as an escape. And then we have the overgiving, the Mother Teresa syndrome. And this is where you try to be so good and do everything in your power to give off the perfect image to the detriment of yourself. You're giving your all and you're getting nothing in return, just so that nobody knows about that shadow lurking in the corner. Next slide, please.
I wanted to give a couple examples real quick before you
ahead.
move. Before I even got into my spiritual path, I used to have this pattern of the escapism, right? So I'd go to work, right? And then I'd come home, then I'd have to cook and I'd have to clean and take care of a kid, right? And so then by the time I'm done, go to bed. And then on my weekends, what did I do? I would binge watch a bunch of movies. And then that would be Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday, the whole day I'd clean from top to bottom of the house every fucking week. The house didn't need to be dusted every week. The house didn't need to be clean like that. It was only like me and my daughter most of the time. But I would literally go from top to bottom, dusting in that, again, finding things to do to stay busy so that I don't have to sit with myself, for one, and then sit with the energy of whatever I have pushed down. So when you're looking at a lot of things that you do, that escapism is when we don't take that time for us to really sit with you and you, oh, I've been here 2 seconds. Up, where's my phone? Let me go on IG, let me go on Facebook. And I used to do hours of being on these social media. The only reason why now I'm on there is because it's a business. That's it. I would not be on social media as much as I am now because I used to constantly be on. That's how you start to really look at, damn, what am I using as that crutch? What is my escapism? The second that you are sitting, if you can't do a whole day to yourself without finding something to do, that's you. You're avoiding that shadow. You're avoiding something. I've been the overworker also, especially when I got into my spiritual path. I just put so much on my plate where I didn't have time to really do. I would sit in these healing sessions. That was where I got my really good healing, is going through healing sections, because other than that, I was like, and still, I would tell you guys, still, I have to remind myself that you're still not there. You need to take more time. And so when you don't listen, like me, I'm going through a current tower because Spirit is like, okay, you don't want to listen. So now we're going to force you to fucking spend more time with yourself, which is, it's a good thing, but it's still like, again, that's where the towers come from, those moments of just everything kind of crashing down, because again, you're not taking the time to do what you need to do. So those are just a couple of things where sometimes we don't see it, where we're like, I don't really have anything. No, sometimes where if you can't sit next to yourself and just be in that place of quiet with me, it's like, uh-oh, what am I running from? What's your shadow, right?
Yes, very true. If you can't handle being alone at all, you always need to escape. You're escaping yourself. And then we have repressed emotions, which are caused because we've been told certain things are bad, so we want to push them away. And then when you're unsuccessful with pushing those emotions to the back and you have your outburst or whatever, it leads you to feeling even worse. Like, why couldn't I hold this in? Why was this person able to control their emotions and I couldn't control mine? Or why did I let them trigger me? What's wrong with me? This always happens. I'm always doing something wrong. I'm always saying the wrong thing. And it's like you're never able to get it right. And then you have anger at yourself for this. And then you also get angry at the person, not for whatever the issue was, but because you were triggered. So this is where you get that anger and then sadness from feeling like a failure. And also you have that fear of what other people are going to think of you. And this is with and without your shadow. You're always wondering because you're never being your whole self. So it's like, how much is too much of me to show? Because when you always have that shadow on the back burner, it's like you like we were talking about before, you're just very unaware. And like I said, and just not having the capability to do what you've noticed others are able to do. Next slide, please.
You know, I have an example for like every fucking thing, right?
I know.
I'm the poster child of trauma, y'all. So repressed emotions, right? One of the things as a kid, I was not allowed to voice anything, right? So my parents were very standoffish and cold. They were the parents that were like, I would give you something to cry about, right? Or go to your room. Shh. Like my dad wanted peace and quiet. So we were like outside or you were fucking in the room, but you were not making noise. So everything was like, you need to be quiet. So as an adult, I never really noticed that I would let a lot of things slide that I did not like, but I wouldn't say anything because that speaking up, that saying I don't like anything was something that I was unheard of. It was like, no. And then it was to the point to where I'd be in this energy. That's when it would come out because I would keep not expressing like, you know what, I don't like this in this particular moment. I love you, but I don't like how you're treating me. I love you, but I don't like what you're saying to me. I love you, but fuck, you just disrespected me. And so I would never, ever say anything for fucking years until it would get to that point of blowing up. And then finally, that's where that anger or stuff comes out. The fear, I could give you an example of the fear. I had a fear of abandonment. So another part of not addressing stuff with people was the fear that they would leave me, the fear that I would lose them, the fear that I'd never see them again, fear of being alone, right? And so I would take stuff, repress that shit down until you have no other option but to blow the fuck up in the moment of something hitting. And again, it always starts from something little, right? Something very trivial that can be worked out, that can be talked about, but it blows up because of course you've repressed everything. And instead of us coming to this place to be able to say, okay, instead of fear of losing, if I really lose this person, they're not meant to be in my life. If this person really can't respect me and respect and understand where I'm coming from, they don't deserve to be here in my life. Again, that's something that you have to start working within you because it's coming from somewhere. You're not going to sit in these situations and keep dealing with certain things without it being from fear or that, you know what I mean? Something from your childhood or past life even, because sometimes it is past life energy. So just when you're looking at these situations, what are you stuffing down that you're not addressing? What are you not handling? And sometimes we're not realizing that that's what we're doing. Now, I do address stuff. Now it's like, you may be mad at me, but we need to talk, you know? You might not like what I have to say, but this is how it is. And I'm at this point, it'll still hurt my feelings if you become a bitch or a fucking asshole after the conversation or during the conversation, right? That's not going to take away the hurt. Like, damn, I thought we were better than that. But at least you don't sit on it and you don't hold it in to where you're not expressing how you feel. You're allowing yourself to be like, I'm not a shitty friend because I'm telling you how I feel, you know? And if this separates my friendship or this separates my relationship, then that's what it has to be, because you owe it to yourself now to step up into this place, to start looking at every relationship that you have, every person you have around you. Is it healthy? Is it supportive? Is it uplifting? Or is it tearing me down? Right? If it's triggering you, there's a reason though, right? That's the beauty of it. All right.
All right. And then we get into check your emotions, which is actually about having unchecked emotions, kind of like what Ariana was just talking about, because you're always, again, it's always about holding in that shadow side until you can't anymore. And then you lose control. Your emotions become explosive, leading you to having. Oops, hold on, somebody. Anyway, leading you, sorry, just fixing my screen, leading you to having outbursts and not being able to handle the situations where you do lash out in anger. And again, it happens, it's usually disproportionate to the actual issue. Like your partner, you asked them to take out the trash like you've asked them to do in the past. And then you come home and you see the trash is still there. And for some people, they'll get angry, they'll scream, maybe kick over the garbage can, saying, "You never do anything I ask." And then it creates this big argument when do they not do anything that they are ever asked of, or did they not take out the garbage? So it's due because you build up of trying to hold in these emotions over and over, because you don't want to be the bad guy, you don't want to look like you're nagging the people in your life. You just want to hold it in. Oh, it's not that big of a deal, but it still like kind of bothers you. But it's not that big of a deal, but it kind of bothers you. It's like it keeps going and going until you've now lost control. You can't hold it in anymore. And if you were able to address your shadow and address these issues and realize there's certain things that do bother you, and it's okay for these things to bother you, and it's okay for you to have these discussions with the people in your life, then you address the issue now instead of waiting until it's built up to the boiling point and now it's possibly a blowout fight. Next slide. What? No example?
I kind of feel like that went in what I was saying too. So
yeah. And then we go into your mind. Your mind matters, which it centers around you not really knowing yourself. Because as we've discussed before, our shadows are a part of us, and repressing that side leaves us lost in so many different ways. Because it's like, it's a stranger to us because we've hidden from that side for so long. And that's why we end up lacking direction and often feeling lost and confused about life in general. Because just if you don't know yourself, how can we be sure of anything or anyone else? So we'll always be questioning and never trusting ourselves and our thoughts. So this is where you get into that lack of mind-body connection. That awareness is just not there. Next slide. Cycling of relationships leaves us going through the same patterns of toxic behaviors over and over again because we don't do enough self-reflection to move past those behaviors or to learn why we're doing them in the first place. And if we don't face them, we can't correct them. So reiterating from earlier, this often leads to destroying relationships because ignoring your shadow leaves you believing you're the victim, someone else has hurt you, someone else is to blame. You don't take the time to reflect on your part in the situation, your part in the argument, your part in what has happened between you and the other person. You cannot open your mind to correcting the actions because that would mean you have to face your shadow. And if the relationship doesn't end but continues to be toxic, people will often stay because they become codependent and are afraid to leave and face the reality of the situation, to face the reality of, oh, this didn't work. Why didn't it work? You don't want to think about what I could have done differently. You would rather stay in that toxic relationship and realize, okay, well, this is how I am. They know how I am. I know how they are. And you just stay with that cycle of the relationship. And next slide, please.
I did want to add on this one.
Of course.
You know, we say, in every, especially relationships, right? If you start asking, why do I keep bringing in the same people? That is your clue of You can't keep blaming everybody else. If every one of the people you deal with, there's an issue, it's not everybody else, okay? There's something within you pulling these people in your life or triggering this shit within you. I know that personally, I remember being in my early 30s, and I remember after so much stuff happening, and I was in another situation, it was the same shit, different day, and I was just like, how? Where do these people come from? And that's what my mind state, because I had not stepped into that place to accept that there was something within me that was bringing these people to me. There was something within me that was accepting this. And I was still blaming them, like everybody else is fucking crazy out here. And, you know, and if I take it to intimate relationships, at that same point, I was like, every man ain't shit. But then every man that came to me wasn't shit. So I kept calling in the same exact kind of people. And then again, I wasn't taking the responsibility to say, hey, what is within you that you keep pulling in this particular type of person? And I know one of the things I want you guys to stray away from that you'll hear in the spiritual community is, oh, you're empath and you just bring narcissists and that's just the way it is. No, that's some fucking bullshit. Okay. That is giving you an excuse to deal with fucking people. Well, I'm an empath. Well, I guess that means that I'll always deal with narcissists. No, it's poor ass boundaries. We have poor ass boundaries that is the real reason. And until we're ready to step into this and be like, you know what? Instead of me allowing someone to fucking disrespect me or do this, that, and the third and talk to me this way, how do I just remove myself from this situation? Again, nope, here comes the abandonment issue. Nope, here comes the fear. Nope, here comes the other 20 million reasons of why we're still dealing with the narcissist. So again, there's, of course, good and bad in spirituality. And we, you know how we like to bring it with the real side of it. Don't look at it as, oh, I'm an empath, I just got to deal with fuck people. No, that's not it. Because even as an empath, once you create those boundaries, you're not taking on everybody's shit. Again, we talked about the Mother Teresa syndrome. You're not taking on everybody's shit because you'll get those boundaries and you'll know exactly of who can I help and who I need to let go. And you'll kind of move away from that. Okay.
Yes, yes, so true. And it's like you see these same red flags and they keep coming to you, and it's like you keep ignoring them, and that's why you keep allowing those same people to come towards you. Because if you can ignore their red flags, you can ignore your own. But giving your power away. And this happens when we don't take responsibility for that shadow, for that darker side of us, because it leaves us to not take responsibility for our actions and our reactions. So that's, hold on. Just trying to see what, oh, my products. But no, you won't scare the strong away, the ones that you are looking for. But back to this, people tend to say things like, I can't control myself, or I wasn't me when it happened. Yes, you can control yourself, and it was most definitely you. Your shadow is a part of you, and everybody, at least right now, is a grown-up. You're over 18. I think everybody is mentally capable and aware. So you had complete control of yourself when you flipped out, freaked out, had an incident, and everything else. We have to own up to what we do and reflect on why. Otherwise, you're always going to be giving control up, one, either to your shadow itself, because since you don't have that self-awareness to connect with it and work with it, it can just take control when it wants, or even worse, to other people, because you're allowing them to control how you think, how you act, what you do. So this is how you're giving your power away. So own your power, own your actions, own your shadow, work with it, and see where you can go from there. And then next slide, I think, is you.
Before we get there, a couple things that just popped up, like when we're going through this, right? And we talk about our reaction and response. I'm gonna give you an example of, like, even within my first year of being in spirituality, and we kind of realized that spirituality is not as nice as we want it to be, right? There's a lot of fucked up people in the spiritual path that you're going to meet, right? Especially in the beginning, because like the door is open and the floodgates are coming. You're still getting a bunch of shitty people in this path, right? So one of the things in the beginning of my path, I went through a lot of like kind of betrayals and people kind of talking a bunch of shit and stuff like that. And in those moments, I had a choice, right? I could try to prove my innocence in these particular situations, right? I could do all this extra crazy shit on social media. I can engage, or I could decide to let it play out and people learn their lessons with whoever they believe. And that's the kind of thing. And it happened over and over again, like a test to see, what are you going to do? Is your ego, you're going to let your ego get into this? Are you going to need to prove your innocence in these particular situations? And again, that's on you. You didn't cause it. You didn't start it, right? But it's on you to say, am I going to let myself go to this point? And if I would have given my power away each and every time. I would have, but I chose to say, fuck it. I know who I am. I know who I am in this situation, and I no longer need to prove myself to anybody else. Again, that goes back to that shadow side, that ego part of you that needs to prove, because, you know, I need people to believe me. I need people to like me. I need people to love me. You got to remember that's what it is. So everything that you're looking at, take that moment to say, does it really, really need this reaction? Do I really need, because you're always in control. That's the beauty. It's like, yeah, the person cut me off. Oh yeah, that person did this. Yeah, that person called me a bitch. Okay. And did they really hurt you by calling you that? Probably not, you know. Even me now, I'm a very beautiful spiritual person. But of course, I would not let someone just slap the shit out of me or hit me, and I'm not going to do anything back. Like, no. Who do I look like? Buddha? Like, no, I'm not. I'm like, that's not gonna happen.
Jesus up in here.
We not Jesus. Like, I am not Jesus, and I will keep saying that shit. No one is hanging me to a cross, and I'm just going to take that shit. But you know what I mean? Like, if no one's really harming you, if it's just words, then why are we letting it get to us? Why are we letting it? There's something else. And I can look at each one of those situations, because I've had my childhood where people didn't believe me. People didn't have that within me. So what did it do? It triggered me as an adult to say, do I need people to believe me? Do I need them to have that faith in me? No, at the end of the day, you need to believe you. You need to trust you. You need to love you. So it's always going to go back to self, where the second you decide to react in the situation, if you cannot take those steps, and let me tell you, there's going to be moments where you're like, fuck, I really shouldn't have done that. And if you can't take the steps to look at it first before you react, that's deeper shit that you need to look at, because you're seriously in the reaction. Everything is a reaction, and nothing is taking that moment to take a step back and kind of look at, you know, your own actions. So hopefully that'll just start to jog you to be like, oh shit, oh man, this week alone, what the well, damn, the person at Subway didn't need that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't need to get mad because they didn't put tomatoes, and I told them to put tomatoes, you know. I've seen that. I remember working at the drive-thru like years ago. Probably I was like not even 20 yet. And I remember like this lady was so pissed that I think they had put tomatoes and it wasn't supposed to be tomatoes, right? And she was so fucking pissed about this. And of course, I didn't make it, but I have to take it because I'm in the drive-thru. And so I take it back like, hey, she said it's messed up. And so, of course, I will tell you guys, the cooks back there are pretty shitty. They're going to fuck your shit up even more when you complain. So if you're in fast food, don't ever complain about your food. So they do something else. And then I take it, you know, and give it to her. And then all of a sudden now it's like they put onions on it and not supposed to be onions. So she starts flipping the fuck out in the drive-thru. And I'm like, man, I'm not the one making it. I really don't know what to say. So I take it back, you know, and I'm like, well, can I just have you park, you know? And she's like, I'm not fucking moving from this drive-thru. And she's yelling and screaming at me. And I'm just like, so can a manager come to the window? Cause I'm like done being the one getting yelled at, you know what I mean? So again, you always have that power to be like, okay, I can engage and I can cuss her out too, or I could just be like, you know what, I'm just the person in the middle of this shit. I like have nothing to do with the war going in between this you know, customer and the fucking cook back here who's pissed off. So remember, you just have that power. Choose what you want to do with it. You can engage or you could walk away. So I want to do an exercise with you guys. So hopefully you guys got paper and pens. So everybody got a paper and pen? You guys should always come prepared if you don't, but I'll give you some time if you don't. One of the things that I want you guys to do, and if you're going to get your pen and paper, it's okay, because we're going to keep this up for a minute. 3 things I want you to ask yourself right now. Okay. Number 1, what parts of yourself do you dislike? And let me tell you, do 3 main ones. I don't want you to fucking have a bookload of shit that you don't like about yourself today. Don't overload yourself. We all have stuff. Just look at the 3 main things that come up. If you just ask yourself this question, you close your eyes, ask yourself this question right now. What are the 3 main things that come up to you? What parts of myself do I not like? What do I dislike about myself? Boom. Write those 3 things down. Don't overthink it. Don't overprocess it. Don't do any of that. Just write those 3 things down. Okay. Then for number 2, what parts of yourself do you judge? And really think about that. What parts of self do you get? Judging comes with an anger, or most of the time it's anger. You're pissed off at yourself for doing something. So what are those things that you judge yourself for? Could be looks, doesn't have to be looks. Think of yourself. Don't overthink it. Don't think too much in it. When you ask yourself that question, what are the first things that are coming up with you? Okay. And for that 3rd one, I want you to ask yourself, what parts of yourself do you fear? Okay. We'll give you guys a couple minutes to just think about this and write those down. And we're going to talk about it. Does everybody have theirs written? If anybody still needs time, let me know. No, we're good. Okay. All right. So if we look at your list, right? The first one, let's start with the first one of the stuff that you dislike, and anyone who wants to go or give your something that came up with you and we can talk about it. If not, I do have some examples. But some things that you dislike about yourself. Anyone got one?
I do. I dislike the fact that my lack to forgive and let go. Like I can say that I'll say that I forgive you, but clearly it's a constant issue that I have because I don't forgive what you did to me. And I say I let it go, but in the back of my mind it's still there. So truly I haven't let it go.
Okay. So how can you look at that in a positive way instead of in a way that you don't like, right? Or can you? If you can, I'm going to give you an example of maybe to look at it.
Give me an example, please.
Okay. So when we're looking at forgiveness, right? We know that forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for us, right? So in a moment of when you're forgiving and you're like, you know what, I forgive you, but then again, it's still down there and you got to work on it. You have an awareness. That's the positive side. Your awareness is, oh, I'm not done with this shit. I thought I was. And that's okay. That's the biggest thing. It's okay because there's something deeper tied to that. Remember, all of our trauma and wounds go to other rooted shit, right? So it's not a bad thing that you can't forgive. You're actually coming into this place of awareness to understand that, damn, I didn't forgive. So now let me work on this, right? The other side to that, if you look at it, is maybe they don't get that right now. Maybe that's not where you need to be right now. Maybe there's something else to look at. So instead of looking at it as like, fuck, I can never forgive, there's deeper reasons right there. So always look at it as not as a negative, like, fuck, I say this, but I don't do it. There's a reason why you can't forgive. Go back to the reason of you're there, right? Some shit is deep. Some shit hurt. Some shit is just hard to come back from. You're not a bad person because you can't forgive. You're not a bad person because you can't let it go. Some shit is just rough. That's where you got to come into that place of compassion to self, because it's not for them, it's for you. And maybe that person in this situation, you're not ready to forgive fully. Maybe you're not ready to fully, be done with it. And again, that is okay. Stop getting mad at yourself because you can't forgive a person. Every time some situations I think I'm good and I think I've forgiven this person, something else comes up and I'm like, fucking A, I thought I was done with this. Again, some shit is just deeply rooted, okay? So find a way to be okay with that side of you. Anybody else got something that came up that they disliked?
I got one where I tend to be an overthinker. So when a situation arises, I assume and I create a false story in my head without having the facts.
Right. So it kind of like
Guilty of that too. Guilty, overthinker, bad, Virgo. Oh.
right. So again, there's a part of you that's like, okay, you just go into a whole scenario, you've created this whole situation that happened, but you also run with it. So you don't even stop. You just run with the whole shit that you've created. So again, if we take away like, oh my God, that's bad, right? And we come back to this place of awareness, it's coming from a part of you that is so fucking afraid. You've gone with that your fear is, you've gone with it. That younger version of yourself is now like, sure, I'm over here. Again, come back to a place of awareness because your child version of yourself is screaming at you. That's why you keep running in these situations with this. There's a part of you that needs that to look at me. So again, the trigger and the awareness comes with that child version of you is going to continue to put you in situations where you fuck it up with your assumptions and what you just ran away from. That is the acknowledgement and the awareness to come in and say, oh shit, I need to take a step back and look at this because I have done this like 20 million times and I keep doing the same shit. So again, don't beat yourself up. The younger version of you is already beaten. It's already down. It's already sad. It's screaming through this situation, help me. But you're focused on what you just did. You're focusing on what you just fucked up. You're focusing on the problem right now that just was created instead of where it stems from. So again, if we come back to this moment, we can be like, oh shit, okay, I messed up. But again, don't get stuck on what just happened. Of course, at some point you need to be accountable, right? At some point you need to say, again, ask yourself, why do I do this? And you're going to find that younger version of yourself. You're going to find the situation that's screaming at you, but it's not until you do. You're going to keep doing it until you get it, until you realize, holy shit, what's the younger Alex that needs me right now? What's the younger Hope that needs me right now? Which one of you is screaming out in this situation? Because there's a fear that sparks in you that runs with that assumption. Okay, because I have the overthinking. I actually wrote that down. Overthinking is one of the things that's just constantly like, I hate that I do that. But bringing it to a positive is the fact that I can tell you with every situation, I have thought about it so much that once I make a choice, it's because I've looked at every fucking piece of it. I've sat and looked at the worst case scenario to the best fucking case scenario in this situation. So whatever I choose, I'm going from my heart space. That's the positive. Whether it works out is neither here nor there, because not everything is going to work out. But once you get to that point, you can understand your overthinking, like, okay, it's not as bad because I have really thought about this before I moved in this situation. So try to find the positive in every situation, because again, polar opposites, that life, duality, everything is duality. Everything has the bad and the good. So don't beat yourself down because of that, okay? Anybody else have anything that they dislike?
Something that I usually do when I start thinking like negatively, I try to change it into a positive. That's something that I've learned through the session that we had previously. Change your mindset. Like, there is a reason why you're going to that negative, but stop yourself in that moment and be like, what the fuck? Like, why am I choosing to make it negative when it doesn't need to be negative?
Right.
So I just change it to positive, like, I'm tripping, let's just change the way I'm thinking. That's what I cope with it. That's something that I learned through the sessions with you guys, is changing your mindset. And when you start going down that path, change it to positive, like you said.
Right. One of the things Christina said, I have snap judgments. So let's do judgment. Judgment is a huge one. Judgment is like one we always do. And the reason judgment exists is that's the trigger, because you're judging something within self that irritates you, right? Because we wouldn't care. We would not care, right? We wouldn't care about this situation, but there's something within us. It's like we're pointing our finger. There's something of it that we're judging, right? So every time that you're in a situation where you're judging, you have to take that moment and say, why am I judging this person? Why am I so harsh? Especially if it's a negative, like you're really like, this person, that person's fucking stupid for that. I would never do that. Because guess what? It's so easy to say what you won't do until you're sitting in them shoes. And when you got them fucking shoes on, it doesn't feel too good when you're sitting with the same shoes on. So when you're doing the judgment, if you take that step back and ask yourself, again, why am I judging this person for this? Why am I saying this? And what does it matter to me what this person has going on over here? You're going to start to pick out some shit with this when you ask yourself those things, okay? But even if we looked at judgment and turned it into a positive, right? The positive side is always going to be coming to a place of awareness. That's the positive. Okay, it's not bad judging. We're all going to judge in some form, shape. We all have a fucking opinion. Okay, we're human. We're all going to have an opinion. Even when I'm like, man, I don't want to be judgmental. And then something happens and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to choose not to say shit in this fucking situation. I'm just going to go by the rule of, if you don't have nothing nice, don't fucking say it at all. But that's not always going to be the case. So again, if you ask yourself why, I can know, like with my kids, right? I would get so fucking irritated with them and mad in situations. And it's because I saw pieces of me within them. In friendships, somebody's doing something, they're getting played, and you're so pissed off and mad at your friend because they're getting played. Again, you're mad not at them because they're getting played. You're mad at the version of you that got played before. You're pissed that that judgment is coming from when you got played, and you know what you went through. And it's, why isn't this person not taking my advice? It's because you didn't take your own advice in the situation. You have not healed that with you to take that step back and say, oh shit, I got to put some love on that. That's where it's coming from. Again, it's all going to come back to awareness. Anybody else have anything else as far as that came up? And then I'll go to the next one.
I had, I dislike that I put family first and I'm a people pleaser. So I would give my last and do my all for them. And it's definitely not something I should do, but I dislike that. It's something I need to break, but it is something I do not like that I do a lot.
Right, right. And so the positive of it is that you're family oriented. You love your family, that you would do anything for them. Now, of course, yes, we got to work on the putting yourself last, right? That's the part you work on it. But if you're looking at the positive of it, you have that family is everything. That family is this bond. It's beautiful. It's not a negative. It's very, very beautiful. Just got to change some of the operation behind it, right?
Yeah.
So what's some things you guys judge? Anything, the judging part come up? Anybody want to share?
I can share. I almost didn't want to put it out there because it's totally going to ruin my manifesting, but I already wrote it down. Kind of like, well, here, I'll just say an easy one that I feel like a lot of people can relate to maybe is like my body.
Yeah.
Like I eat healthier, I try to be, but I think that I'm always thinking about it and it creates more stress, which creates like my body to store, like I swell up from stress. So it's like a catch-22. It's like a, you know, it's like, okay, I can eat better, exercise, but I need to not beat myself up on it and love who I am no matter what, all my parts of me. It's been taking
I put the same thing. That was the first one I put, was weight.
And so many people struggle with that. I'm going to give you guys a story about my weight, right? So my weight is contributed and attached to healing very strongly. So I was never a chubby child. I wasn't a big child. I was very thin until I lost my first daughter. And then when I had my second daughter, a couple months after having my second daughter, I had crazy PTSD, and I was traumatized basically from my first daughter who passed of sudden infant death. And a couple months after, I swelled up, like I got huge. Plus it was with the same guy that I dealt with some other shit from the first relationship. So it was like I was preparing myself for the loss. I was preparing myself in some way for everything to just crash and burn as it did before. And then I would go through these moments, I would lose all the weight and then I would gain it all back. Of course, we didn't stay together, but there were these moments where I didn't realize that someone would come into my life. They would kind of pique my interest and all of a sudden I would blow up. And then you go through the moments of emotional eating because, of course, I was an addict. So there was times where I was like, okay, I'm going to get clean from being an addict. And okay, here goes food, though. Food's going to be my new comfort, right? My new escape, right? And then when you start to get clean, all of you, you're struggling and you're getting clean. And so now you're like, oh shit, I realize now food is my issue, right? Again, you're working through all of these levels. And again, your body, you have to remember the guilty eating is what does it. Because you already have said, as soon as I eat this, I'm gaining 10 pounds. You made it so. And I would go through these moments of literally like going to doctors. They'd be like, oh my God, your labs are good. And I would cry because I would be like, something has to be wrong with me. I wasn't a fat kid. I wasn't a fat person. Why am I big? I'm a jogger. I go work out. I could fucking work out. I would lose 15 pounds and plateau. And it would frustrate the fuck out of me because doctor after doctor, year after year, I'd go through all of this and nothing. But again, I wasn't going to the core issues. Everything, especially with physical body, is going to go to some core issues of what we got going on. And it wasn't until this path that I realized that my shell that I've been carrying, I actually built a physical shell, right? So one of the things that I wrote down was, when we get to the fear part, I wrote down is my heart space. Because my heart space is so beautiful and so big, and I love people so fucking deeply, there's a fear of that, of truly opening that up. And especially when it comes to love, there's a fear of that. And so my weight is still here because I have not completely worked through that. So again, when you're looking at this stuff and you're judging yourself, go, what's the core issue there? You know, we especially me, I know going from one addiction to the next addiction, and then it's like, fuck, I use that. Now I got to deal with this shit, you know, because part of it is from that. And again, you're beating yourself up from finding something else. Actually, is a little bit more healthier than the other stuff, right? Or, I mean, I've been through several addictions: alcohol, sex, food. I've been through a binge watching shit. I've been through several different things that were my addiction that I put in place of. So I get what you mean. All of that is going to come in layers. But once you get to that part of, again, why am I judging myself? Why am I judging my looks? It's going to come to some deeper shit. Why am I judging my weight? And then if you're a person who is judging your weight, but then you're binge eating, okay, right? We're binge eating. What the fuck is this? What am I doing? I used to literally eat like one donut and I'd fucking gain weight from that one donut. And I'd be so pissed off that the next day, my fucking uniform used to be tight. Like, how the hell is my uniform too tight? How the hell did I fucking gain 10 pounds in a night and I only ate a donut? And I'd be so depressed and so shitty, but not realizing how the fucking spirit works with everything and how those traumas play out and how our mind and our reality is so connected to all of that stuff. It's because I guilt tripped. I did that. I said, I ate this. I'm horrible. I'm bad. I'm horrible for eating this. I'm horrible for doing this. And now I've created this 10 extra fucking pounds of weight, literal weight on my physical body. Now, not everybody has the problem of stuff playing out in their physical body, but there are some of us that the stuff that we do, the stuff that we say is going to hit us on a physical level. We're going to carry it in weight until we work through it. We're going to carry it as a fucking, our like, you know, that bag, the extra fucking baggage that you have. And you're going to go to the doctors, and some of it will be, you know, the doctors will say, you have this, you have that. And sometimes there will be nothing. And the doctor will say, you need to go work out. You need to eat better. You need to exercise. And you'll be frustrated. Again, come back to the things. If you ask yourselves on the stuff that you judge, why am I so judgmental about this? You have to get very honest and real with yourself about it, right? You really have to look at it and answer these questions. If you say, I don't know, that's not an answer. And if you've worked with me, you know we don't do that. We don't do the I don't knows. We actually look at it. No, ask yourself again until you get an answer. And then why haven't I forgiven myself for this particular situation? I could tell you with my heart space, it's because I allowed someone that I knew he was a piece of shit, and I still allowed him in my life, had a kid with him, lost the kid, and then lost our whole relationship because he popped up with another kid that was born a month apart from my child. So again, it's going to come back to self. It's not what he did. It's that I knew. Somewhere the intuition was there and I knew, and I allowed it. I failed my younger versions. Again, going back to our traumas, right? So when you start to ask yourself these questions, you're going to understand. Now, again, that's not going to take the pain away. That's not going to release all the trauma that you have from the situation. Again, I very well understand where it is, and I'm still working through it because it's deep. It's hard. It's harsh. Okay. But at least if you can get to the place where you start to pinpoint and understand where you haven't forgiven yourself, right? Where are you still angry with yourself? Where do you need to put that compassion and love to you? Ask yourself, would you treat other people the way that you treat yourself? Would you be so hard on someone else if they came to you with the same issue? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't be like, suck it up, buttercup. You'd be listening. You'd be so empathic to be like, so now it's your turn to get in that mirror and start being kind to you. Everything that we've talked about, the things that you dislike, right? All the negative shit that you harp on yourself for. If you go in the mirror and you say those things to yourself, tell me none of you guys are going to break down and fucking cry. If you look yourself in the mirror and start saying this shit, you're going to cry. That younger version of yourself is going to cry. So instead of that, try to pick something positive from the situation that you can take. And if you can't find, because some of it is kind of like, damn, it's kind of hard to get a positive, at least find the trigger, find where it's attached to, find the younger version of yourself that's screaming for you in this moment. Okay. Again, it's not going to be overnight. Some of this shit is going to take time. You'll still have some of these fears, but your awareness is going to be key to keep working through it. Okay. I'm at a point in my life that I'm hitting some hard, heavy shit head on, but I have not touched a drink. Okay. You know, I'm not binge eating. You know, there's a lot of things that I refuse to go back with. I don't use all of the, I don't do escapism. I don't even watch TV because I knew that that was a part of me that escaped. So I refuse to binge watch anything. People are like, oh, watch this and watch that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Because I know that was something that I used as my escapism. You have to get to these very harsh parts that, man, yes, it's hard. Yes, the work is hard. If this shit was easy, everybody be healed and we all be fucking around a fire doing kumbaya, right? But it's not. So take your time with it. And what you're not ready for, okay, you're not gonna be ready, you'll slip. That's okay too. Again, we got to get back to the place of loving ourselves, even in the shit that we don't get to fix every day. You know, even in the shit of what we're going through, you got to be the one that loves you first. And that's shadow work. Shadow work is looking at these things that we hate about ourselves and then still loving ourselves and still understanding that, you know what, I'm not a fucked up person because my heart space is big. It's not that it's not that I love people, you know, it's that I continue to do what I don't want other people to do to me. You know, I continue to be the one to neglect myself. Again, coming back to self. So if you're neglecting yourself though, what's the real reason why? What is it that you're trying to escape from? What is it that you're ignoring? What is it that you're not paying attention to? Those are the things that we got to take those moments, and it gets very serious and very harsh in some of these. It's not that you're someone who is dislikable or you're a piece of shit, right? You're going through some things and it's just pinpointing where it's coming from. And if you can get very honest with yourself, most of you guys are very aware of what's going on. Now it's like, where's the action behind that to start to make the changes? Are you ready for the changes? Because I think you guys are very aware. And I'm pretty sure some stuff came up for you today that probably you weren't aware of, right? But now how can we make these changes? So if we look at our fears, right? What's the worst thing? Give me some examples of your fears, you guys. Somebody give me an example of a fear that you have.
Me?
Abandonment.
Ooh, abandonment. Okay.
Ooh. Becoming the best version of me.
Okay. And why does that fear you? Like, not fear you, because that don't make sense. Why does that make you afraid?
Being gifted and caring what other people think about me.
So if you become the best version of yourself, you're afraid of what other people will say about that version. And they won't like that version. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll think you're better than them, or that you think you're better than them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's actually on mine. I wrote power, and I'm afraid of my own power still, even who I am. And a lot of people look at me like, you? Hell yeah. Even me who was constantly live, constantly vibing, constantly doing shit. I've worked to get to where I am. I am not gonna, but I still have fears, and I'm still afraid of a part of my power. Some of it is past life though. Some of it in past life does stem through this, where I got killed for the same shit of stepping in that power and people, you know, not liking that. Okay. But again, when you get to these points and you're asking yourself, ask yourself this question: what's the worst thing about that fear? Like, if you made it and you got to be the greatest fucking Victoria ever, what's the worst thing about that?
Not much, that they just won't like me.
So you
they don't now.
Right. So you lose some haters in the path. Okay. Right. Again, when it comes to abandonment, the biggest thing you got to work out is the fear of losing others, right? The fear of losing people. But again, the real people, you're not going to lose real people. You're not going to lose the people who really love you. You're never going to lose the people who truly value you, who truly respect you, who truly love you, because they will always understand. And even if you don't talk to them for a while, you will come back with them at some point and they will be like, oh, okay, cool. No harm, no foul. So your fear, if you look at your fear and you ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen in this fear? For me, it goes to death. Well, I'll die, right? Okay.
Right.
I'll die. Okay. We're all going to die sometime, right? So again, going down to see where does this fear leave me? So if you ask, what's the worst thing that can happen if I fail, right? Whatever if your fear is something else, what's the worst thing, if you ask yourself this, that can happen?
I got a tough one for you.
Okay.
Look at you, your gears turning already. All right, my biggest fear is basically not being able to have a family and not having a family, like a partner and obviously children. That is my absolute biggest fear, because I feel like the only reason why I belong on this earth is to have a family. It's always been a dream of mine to be a mom and stuff like that.
Right. Which I get this one because I've been there, you know, even though I'm a mom, I wanted to have a big giant family. Like I was the one who wanted 10 kids. I wanted a big ass family. And that hasn't been my life. I'm in my 40s. I had 2 kids. My baby is 25, right? So I get what you mean, that fear, right? But worst case scenario, what's the worst case scenario of not having that relationship?
Not being able to, I feel like that's my one goal that I've always wanted to fulfill and have. So, I mean, not having children, I feel like would I wouldn't know why I'm here. You know, like it's been a dream since I was literally a child myself. Like being able to.
That part. Now, if you ask yourself though, if I never get this child, will my life be any worse?
No, because I've had a miscarriage before, so I guess it's like, you know, losing a child. My uncle and aunt lost somebody from SIDS, and it was horrible. My cousin, you know, and that's like a whole nother, like, at least at this point, like I didn't get to meet a child, and you know, it's not supposed to work that way. You know, you're supposed to bury your parents, not the other way around, basically. So I guess it could be worse, but it's just always been a dream of mine. So it's like a fear that I won't have it one day.
But again, if you look at it, right, if you never get the child, is your life meaningless?
I wouldn't say meaningless.
I'm just trying to, yeah. Because I know it's a want and it's also a fear. So you kind of got them colliding, which is counteracting, right?
Yeah.
So if at the end of it, because if you could get to release this fear, oh, that's going to be huge, right?
Right.
So the fear itself, if you never have a child in this life, what's the worst part about that?
Not being able to see myself in somebody else and raising a child and being able to, you know, I guess there's always adoption. There's always, but I mean, at the end of the day, I've helped out a lot of people on this earth so far and changed a lot of lives. So, you know, my life isn't pointless, but
Right.
Hopefully one day. I'm not gonna, you know, you can't stress things that have not happened yet or have not, or,
Right.
you know.
Because it's not to say it won't happen, but where I'm steering you is that the reason behind it. So if we go more that not seeing you within an actual person, right? Because you can adopt or you can find someone to foster or something like that, right? Foster a child. But where that part is going to come from your ego.
Yeah.
That want, right? That's an ego want.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So again, even though I understand where it's coming from, if you keep asking like, what's the worst part about that? You're going to go further in there. there's something else within you that wants that child from you, that birth experience or whatever it is. There's some selfishness to it, of course, but at the end of the day, if you keep asking that, what's the worst thing? What's the worst thing? You'll get down to some more deeper parts of where it's connected. Right?
Yeah, I think I had such a shitty upbringing that I want to do better. And I think that's kind of like when I do shadow work on myself, I feel like that's where I've come to, is like my childhood was not
Right.
stable or good by any means, you know, but that's okay. Like, but I want to do better. And, you know,
I'm going to tell you a little story, right? So I was 14. I wanted to have kids at 14. I actually wanted, like, my first daughter was not a mistake or an accident. Like, I wanted to have her, right? But there was a part of me that only wanted her because I wanted someone to love me. I wanted someone to love me unconditionally. And in my head, I knew that a child was going to love me. My parents didn't. No one else loved me. This man didn't love me, right, that I was with. But I just knew this child was going to love me like no one else. And then she died, right? So pretty fucked up inside to go through that. But it was meant for me to realize it's still a selfish act, right? It's still because you're looking for that love that you need to give to self. You know what I mean? The child is never going to fucking give you that. Not to say give up on wanting a kid, but your kid is never going to fucking, I mean, not that they don't unconditionally love you, but they're never going to love you in that way. And that's a piece of you deep down, your trauma, that you need to love you. There's that piece of you that needs that love. Because again, yes, kids give you love, but they never gonna love you in the way that you need to love self. So
with abandonment too, like it's from my childhood, and it's like you crave that,
yeah,
you know, that pulling at your heartstrings, and you know, could definitely have something to do with that as well, I think.
Yeah. It's a rough one. It's a rough one because, again, not to say that it won't happen, but I do know that part of the block is going to be not letting it go, not being okay either way. If you get to the point where you're okay either way it happens and it's not a fear anymore and you've released that shit, boom, you're going to be like, oh shit, I'm pregnant, right? But if you go back to then the partner, the fear of not having the partner, right? What's the worst case in that?
I don't want to turn out, this sounds really bad. I don't want to turn out like my mom. Like my mom, yeah, she's independent. She's makes a shit ton of money. Like she's great on her own, but she's alone, and you know, just she has been for 20 years, and just, you know, I don't know if the worst thing that would happen is I become successful on my own and just figure it out. You know, everything's just a life lesson, and you know, I need to choose maybe better people and not lower my standards, and things could change, but I don't think it's something that I should harp on because I feel like that will make it not happen. Kind of like the children.
Well, the piece that you said was that you'll die alone. Goes back to abandonment. Goes back to being alone, right? That infamous
fucking Trump.
And I'm sure better boundaries, people, things like that. But remember, if we're operating from a place of fear, right? We're not going to call in that love. We're not going to call in that partner. We will still call in someone who triggers the fuck out of what we need to work through, right? And it's like, man, it's not that there's no good people out there, because that we know is not true, right? We see people getting into successful relationships all over. And it's like, wait a minute, where's mine? Again, that part, right? Got to work through that. And I get it, because again, I'm at a place where I just talked about my heart space. I'm not open. As much as I want, I'm a romantic, you know, one of those people who I believe in love, but for me, I'm not there yet. So for me, I'm like, it's not even an option in this moment because I'm not open for it. My heart space is not open. Anyone I call in right now, is that vibration? Oh, hell no. I don't want that. That's not really going to bring in someone who's open to love, because you actually cannot be afraid of love going into love, right? That's definitely not going to fucking happen. So You're very aware of it. It's just working through it and understanding, but releasing that fear of, I would tell you, and I know we're kind of a lot over, but I went through a time where I was getting to my late 40s and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting too old. I'm not going to have more kids. And I had a fibroid on my uterus, right? And it got up to about 11 centimeters. So they were like, okay, you're going to need surgery. You're going to need to do some surgery. And this is before my spiritual path. So I wasn't in this path. And I went and got a IUD. My body ejected the IUD after 10 months. My body was like, nope, we're going to pop this bitch out. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And literally within like a month or two, I went through this time of just having these crazy cramps and just all this stuff going on. And I went to the doctor, but my doctor wasn't there. And the doctor was like, oh, your body is just, cutting off the blood supply, but we'll send you to the surgeon. By the time I made the appointment, which is a couple, months later to see the surgeon, and they did an ultrasound, it had shrunk to 6, it was like 5 centimeters on its own. This is the body healing. So I was about to get a hysterectomy and be like, done with it. Like, fuck it, I'm in my 40s. And still, I don't know if a kid will be in the plan. But what I'm saying is, like, you never know what's going to happen, right? The body, the energy is just so beautiful, right? Had I have just gone ahead and had the hysterectomy, right, there wouldn't be an option. That wouldn't even be an option, right? It wouldn't even be open. But my body did this something beautiful of just healing itself and literally cutting off the blood supply to the fibroid tumor that was on my uterus, right? And I've had an IUD since, I've got it in 2018 and I've had it since. So just remember, once you just let it go, and I had come to terms with it. I was like, you know what? I'll never, because I always wanted a son. I didn't have a son. I always wanted a son, right? And that was my thing. I was so bent out of shape that I'll never have this son. I'll never have this boy in this life. And then I just kind of let it go. Like, you know what? Fuck it. I guess we're doing this. And then my body had a different plan. Like, wait a minute, you're not just done yet. So all of these things, you guys, are going to get you to these moments to just keep asking, what's the worst thing about this fear that I have? You're going to keep going down, 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 deeper and deeper to get to the core issue of it. And you want to get to the core issue. It's going to stem to something: abandonment, alone, your fears, your childhood stuff. It's not just superficial. Get past your superficial. Because if you could get past the superficial and go deeper, you're going to be like, oh shit, I didn't even realize this is where it's coming from. So a couple things to remember, because I know we're kind of going through some stuff. Your shadow is not your enemy. The shadow is not, we're not trying to defeat it. It's not bad. It's not evil. It's not a demon. Although, yes, attachments and demons and shit do exist, but the shadow is not. The shadow is not bad. The shadow is not to be destroyed. The shadow is not going to go anywhere. The shadow is always going to exist, okay? The biggest thing is not to keep rejecting your shadow. You've been rejecting the shadow for a very long time. Now it's the time to start to accept, to love, and to take care of that side of you. Honor it. Even the shitty parts, even the hard parts, even the most craziest shit that has happened, okay? It's time to get into that point to work through it and to love it. Put that empathy, that compassion, same thing you would do for other people, it is time to do for you. Shift how you see your shadow. So I use this analogy of, don't think of it as the dirty closet with skeletons, right? Full of shame and guilt and all of that shit. Look at it as a drawer to access when you need it. It's knowledge. It's things that you can help not only you, but you can help others. The biggest thing we get into is the shame part and the embarrassment of it, right? We're embarrassed to talk about it. We're embarrassed to say that, oh, this happened to me. We're embarrassed to say, you know what? I dealt with this too, because we're afraid of what people will think. We're afraid of the judgment that's going to come with people. But again, your real people will be sympathetic. Your real people will be empathetic. Your real people will support you. And the real people are going to be like, you know what? I've been through that too. It's way more common than what you think. The other people that it triggers, the other people that angers, again, that's triggering within them, has nothing to do with you. The people that get judgmental about what you've been through, again, that's their trigger. It has nothing to do with you. So if you can start processing it like that, you're going to do better with shadow work. And shadow work is not something that is ever ending. Okay. Shadow work is not something like, oh, I'm going to do these 4 classes and boom, I'm done. No, but you will be a pro at doing it and you'll be better at doing it. And one of the things I want you guys to remember is throughout anytime you're doing shadow work, take time to smile, take time to laugh, take time to love yourself, do things that inspire you, that uplift you, music, dance, whatever it is. I recently wanted to tap into my 15-year-old self. That's the one who lost the baby. And so I was doing dancing. She loved to dance. She absolutely fucking loved to dance. So now to tap in with her, I dance. We dance and we have fun with that, right? Do things you want to play and you want to have that time with your child selves. If you love to paint when you were younger, if you love to draw, take 30 minutes and fucking draw, even if it's stick people. And you're like, you know what? I don't even know why I was doing this. But again, you're tapping into that piece of you. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we go and do the affirmation circle? Or anything you want to share before we go into the affirmation circle?
So I have a really weird fear. My weird fear is rage and losing control, because once I get to the point of rage, I like how it comes out. So I'm afraid, because when I get to that point, I like black out.
Right. And it's not weird at all. So we all have the ability to lose control. And let me tell you, there's not one person who doesn't like feel that power, because there's a power within that. There's a power within that, right? And when you have so much rage and anger, there's some shit down here that you're mad at, right? But in those moments, you feel powerful, because in those moments, you're taking control and you're getting to kind of tap in and deal with that. But is it really dealing with it, right? Because you've gotten to the point of rage. You've gotten to the point of anger. So again, you don't even want to get there. What are the things that are happening that's bringing you to that point? I think the fear is really of what you'll do, and that you are capable of that. And let me tell you, we're all capable of murder. We're all capable of fucking somebody up. We're all capable of destroying somebody's life and doing petty shit. There's not one person that can say, I'm not capable of that. We are all there. But the trick is to get to that point of, do you want to go there? Is it, what am I going to get out of this situation? And me, someone who came from the hood, I always had to ask myself, if I lose my shit, where does that take me? Where do I go? What do I do? Is this worth going to jail over? Is this worth losing my life potentially over? Because if it's not, now it's time to see, where's this rage coming from? Because nobody is just running around with a fucking pot full of rage without some shit that you've repressed, right? So who are you truly mad at? And if you ask yourself that question right now, who am I really so angry at? What comes up for you? What do you hear?
Myself.
Right. Which version of yourself that you're so pissed off and mad at still?
Being a pushover.
But if you could think of a version of yourself that pops out in front of you, which one?
The one that loses control and doesn't walk away.
Is there an age that pops out? If you close your eyes, is there an age that pops out?
Like my teenage years.
Oh, and they're always pissed. So let me tell you guys, when you start working on this shit, the teenager is always fucking pissed, okay? Do not expect your teenage version of yourself to just welcome you with open arms, okay? The teenager is going to be pissed, right? They got a lot of shit going on. So you have to spend some time with that teenager and ask that teenager. If you close your eyes right now and ask that teenager, what does she need? What does she say?
Love.
Okay. And if you ask her, how can I love you better? What does she say?
Just trust yourself.
Okay. And so if you ask yourself right now, why can't I trust myself? What do you hear?
Because of everything you've been through.
Okay. So in this moment, you're caught in a catch-22 of you want to trust yourself, but you don't think you'll make the right decisions because you've made bad decisions in the past.
Right.
Right. So when can you let that go of the decisions in the past?
Today, like working towards that.
Okay. So are you ready to let go of judging your past version of the bad decisions you made?
Yeah.
Okay. So just take a moment, close your eyes, let that go, release that part of you. Because again, you were learning, right? You've made some bad decisions. Okay. You've made some choices that haven't panned out for you. Okay. You don't have to be angry at that version of yourself anymore. And you're now in a point where you can trust yourself to make better decisions. And if for some reason you happen to make a decision that doesn't pan out, guess what? That's okay too. We go through this life of bad and good, right? If it didn't work out, it's bad. If it works out, it's good. But we never get to a point of just accepting what is, that maybe this wasn't meant to pan out for a long time. Maybe this situation was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks and then everything was going to crumble, because that's the design of this life. Come to a part of accepting just, hey, maybe this situation wasn't bad or good. That was an experience. If you start to look at everything moving forward as the next experience versus is this road good or is that one bad, you're going to start to get away from, I can't trust myself to make a proper decision, because you're basing your life on somebody else's standards anyway. So your good and bad are based on past belief systems and traditions that aren't working for you anyway. It's not going to get you to where you need to be. So as you're working through all of this, just keep reminding yourself, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fall. I know a lot of people have the same where, like, I used to have something where failure was not an option. That was something I used to tell myself. Failure is not an option. So much that my daughter literally has anxiety if she wants to fail, or not wants to fail, if she fails. She has so much anxiety that she'll actually not do something and then hinder herself because she doesn't want to fail. Because all of her life, she heard me say, failure is not an option. We can afford to fail. And that came from inner me of not feeling like I can fail. Like I needed to have all the answers. Like I needed to know everything. When you fucking know everything, guess what? Death comes because you don't need to fucking be here. So why do we want to get to that place? We don't want to get there. Be in the journey. Be okay to be in the journey. And that's just letting the stereotypes and the judgments go, not comparing yourself to other people. Don't trash your younger version of self. So right now you're able to let that go. Awesome. That's awesome. Let it go. Yes. Love that part of you. There's going to be more of her though. Your team is done with you.
I'm sure of it.
So anybody else have something before the affirmation circle, just to let you guys know, is we're basically going to say it like, I'm going to pick one of you guys and I'm going to say something beautiful and positive to you. And then the next person will go down the line and keep going. So that's how the affirmation circle is going to work. So I think I wanted to make sure I see all of you guys, but that's probably not going to work on my screen. But anyone else have anything else before we go? I don't want to, if someone has something to share or talk about, I don't want to rush you guys out. All right. And everybody get what we're doing with the affirmation circle? Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to start, and I'm actually going to go with Vanessa. And I'm actually going to say that I am proud of you for just acknowledging the side of you that fear, that you have so much fear, but I'm so proud of you that you even said that out loud. That's so fucking brave of you to do that.
Thank you. Who do I have next? Because I just see like 4 people. Like it's you.
All right, Hope's next. So
Hope.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is that? Moon Magic?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Moon Magic.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to say, last session, it was really brave of you to talk about your situation with your son. Was that you? Yeah, that was you. I helped my friend go through a similar situation. So I really like sympathized with you and it actually made me cry a little bit. So I like felt your emotion through it all. And I just wanted to let you know that was super brave, because that's a real hard thing to go through when it's your baby.
And that is so crazy because we have a group chat. And after hearing what you were saying, I in the group chat said, okay, so everybody knows that in the group, you know, I'm like this huge notebook person. And every time we do these, I have like 50 million pages that I write on. And on this page specifically, when I saw you, I wrote your name down. All I did was looked at you.
Oh,
And
that's
look,
crazy.
you looked at me, I looked at you, and clearly you have a message that I didn't know. Spirit was trying to tell me something, but I just couldn't figure out what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And here we go. Thank you very much, because everything that I have been going through with my son has not been easy. It's something that the group knows. It kills me till this day. But I'm glad that my story could help you help someone else. So thank you.
You're
Who do I
welcome.
have next?
Victoria.
I don't see Victoria.
Just
Oh,
wait.
Victoria. Victoria, whenever we were talking about you, hold on, I have notes too for that. I had put, because you had to be, you're always worried about what others will think of you. And that is this is fucking insane. That's something that I have an issue with. I was always worried about what others would think of me. And whenever you were talking, I literally just wrote on here, there will always be someone or people who don't like you, and you just have to be okay with that. I wrote that right there as you were talking.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Victoria, you have Samantha.
I can't see her, but I have seen her in the tribe before. I want to tell Samantha to be patient. That I am proud of her for what she spoke about. I believe in her. I believe that she can and will have a baby in time. Like, you don't have to rush it. I know that she'll be a great mom when it happens. Just gonna tell you, don't rush it.
Says anyone who has them, don't.
Yes. Don't
Enjoy
rush
your
it.
peace, girl.
It's
Enjoy
beautiful,
it.
but your piece is, I tell you. But I'm grateful to know that you're in the tribe, though, and you're doing good.
Aww. All right, Samantha, you have Betty. And even if some of you guys have not spoke or shared anything, just take a moment when I tell you the name, and just think of something positive that comes to you to say to the person. You're on mute, Samantha, if you're trying to talk.
Yeah, I was just taking it in. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Betty, I think right now is a good time for you to stop being so hard on yourself. A lot of times we are the world's biggest critic on ourselves, and we struggle a lot definitely with not even just self-image, but we don't feel like we're doing enough or good enough, or we don't feel like we're able to accomplish the goals and limits and stuff that we're meant to do. And I feel like you need to kind of like, you are good enough. You have the power to do anything that you want to do. It's right at your fingertips. It's just, you got to allow yourself to let it happen. And I know that's a lot easier said than done. And every day is going to be a new struggle when we wake up and want, do we get out of the bed or not today? But I do see that you have about like a flame in you. It's just waiting for you to take the torch and ignite it.
Aw. All right, Betty, you have Shondell.
No. Uh, let's see. I'm not good at this,
That's
but
okay.
I think that you have a lot going for you. Quite a lot, more than you think. You have a beautiful personality, really. And I mean, it's like every time, it's like when I see your face, it's like, hey, yeah, it's like a ray of sunshine. Yeah, I mean, and look at that smile. Nobody can deny that smile.
Aw.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I actually get that a lot from even a lot of people that really don't know me. They're like, a lot of times they say, your aura, your personality is just so bright out there. So, yeah. So, thank you very much for noticing that.
All right, Shondell, you have Dominique.
Oh, let's see. Dominique, we have spoken before a few times here and there. And I think you have a lot of passion to assist and help people a lot in situations and getting things started and rolling and everything. And not a lot of people have that patience with folks. And I think you do very well with that. And I'm very proud to have met you and also be one of those people that is part of that, getting something started and rolling.
Thank you.
All right, Dominique, you have, oh, if you're gonna say something?
No, I just saying thank you.
Oh, you have,
Shondell.
you have Ignatia.
Nadia. Let me see. Okay, I
Ignatia.
can't. Okay, McNadia. I can't see her, but I'm going to say to her is to take one day at a time during your healing. And as you heal your past hurts and pains, they will heal and you will become stronger. And those past hurt and pains will become scars. And take those scars and wear them as a battle of armor in life that will help you make decisions of what to do and what not to do in different situations. That's what I want to say.
All
Is she
right.
there?
Uh-huh.
You got me in tears. I'm here. I'm listening, but I don't. Okay. Oh,
You keep putting yourself on mute, boo.
yeah. Sorry. You got me in tears. I heard it. This is like
Oh.
my first time in this like chat, and I'm really happy I came today. And thank you for that. I needed to hear that. That was like on point. Like you guys keep saying spirits guiding you, and I'm like, damn, that's spot on right now. 100%.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
just take one day at a time. That's what I tell everybody.
Mhm.
Because healing is a process, and sometimes we don't understand it, but you will be guided on what to do.
Right.
Um,
And
Thank you.
Ignatia, you got Michaela.
Mhm.
I can't see Michaela. Okay. Man, what am I gonna say?
Misha.
Oh, it's Michaela. Okay. Okay. I got this. My advice would be for you is like she said, take it one day at a time, but also to see the worth that you deserve. And for you to take those steps that you need to take and don't be afraid. Because you got this 120%.
Oh, that's nice.
No, next time, now that I know we're doing this affirmation circle, I'm going to write so many affirmations now.
Um,
Thank you, Aisha.
So yeah, sorry, I'm unprepared. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Michaela, you have Louisa.
Okay. I'm not sure who you are. It's first time in this group. I'm gonna say you are a very beautiful being, and to take things slowly, and things will come to you when they need to be. If you get that.
Such a Sag in you. No, Louisa.
Thank you. And that means I have you. I know you were about to skate right on by. Okay, you are a beautiful soul, and you need to trust that heart space and know that it's going to bring you to the place that you need to be. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt your power. Embrace your power. Embrace everything that you have created here. And I'm sure myself and everyone else thanks you.
Thank you. I was trying to like go past.
I know.
But I'm taking it in. I receive it. Yep, we will be doing this. And it really, it doesn't matter if you know the person or not, if I've been around that person. It's really just getting into that point of just really tapping into that intuition of what you're feeling, right? Just go with it. Go with what you feel. You hear a name, go with it, right? And to leave us with something positive. Tonight, we've triggered a lot of shit, right? We've brought a lot of shit up. We've triggered a lot of stuff. And we want you to leave with something positive. So thank you guys for showing up. Thank yourselves for showing up. You guys just showed up for your younger versions. This is the steps that you're taking to show up for yourself. So you need to pat yourselves on the back and fucking celebrate it, okay? We celebrate even the small steps. We celebrate all the steps. We ain't waiting for the fucking finish line to celebrate. We're celebrating the baby steps also, because those things make so much difference in your life. So make sure that you're taking that moment. So I want to end with a quote because I love fucking quotes, you guys, okay? So a bad day for your ego is a good day for your soul. So if your ego is having a bad day, your soul is expanding, is healing. So you want that ego to have more bad days. You want more triggers. As fucked up as it sounds, you want more triggers to tell you like, hey, I need to work through something. Something's coming up for me. And then get to the bottom of it, okay? So yes, I will see you guys next week. It'll be the same time. And again, thank you guys so much for coming. I will have this video, of course, posted, but if you guys can definitely go in the group and drop some feedback for us, is everything, as we're in the beginning of Healing Beyond Humanity nonprofit. And so you guys, even with us being the founders and putting this together, you guys are the founders with us, because you guys are helping us construct this and go through every class that we're doing. And so you guys are the first of the first to go through this. So we're all going through this together, which is a beautiful thing. We're beside you guys, even though we're up here teaching, we're beside you guys. So sending you guys so much love and light. And I hope you guys do something to make some smiles, bring some happiness into your life, do something for you that you enjoy. Okay. Good night, you guys.
Night, night.
Good night.